at the time, it was before the land trust was instituted to control implement, I guess is a better word, the sales and rentals. We own the houses, but we don't own the land. We lease the land, so that's a little bit different than the typical arrangement, but works very well for people here, I think. My grandmother came to the island in 1919, so I was here and I had that history, and at one point my grandmother passed her lease on to my former husband and I, so that was one way we got a house. And then I moved into this house after my mother died. And there was one other house that I lived in for 17 years, which my former husband and I bought. But it was at a time when there was very little security here, so you weren't talking about a huge amount of money. You know, people you'd figure out, well, how many months or years do you think we're going to be able to stay? Because at that time, the regional government, Metropolitan Toronto, was trying to remove all the housing from the island. The houses they could buy, they destroyed. Beautiful houses on Center Island and Hanlon's Point, and on the boardwalk on the lakeshore. But the ones here were modest and started out their lives as canvas tents. And we weren't entitled to any compensation. That was the deal. A year-to-year lease and no compensation. And if we want you to get out, you get out. And we said, okay. And so we had nothing to gain from leaving. So we fought and stayed. We fought to stay, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. We have a 99-year lease now, thanks to Bob Rae, the former Premier Bob Rae. In 1994, we signed a 99-year lease. So I own the house, and I have a 99-year lease on this lot, and that's pretty much the situation for my neighbors as well. The province instituted a land trust. They created a land trust, and the land trust, several island residents are appointed to, but they're representatives from the provincial government, from the city government, and outside those circles, there are some city dwelling citizens that have agreed to serve on that as well. People who live on the waterfront, so they feel that the island is part of that. And they're the ones that are administering the leases and the sales of the leases, or the transfer of the leases, whatever you want to call it. The deal is strictly non-profit, so when the appraiser is trying to determine what you're going to get if you sell the house, it will be what it would cost to replace the bricks and mortar. So that's the understanding that we all have. So there's no profit being made. If your house, your island house, is shelter, it's not investment, unlike the majority of situations on the mainland where that your house is in many cases your only investment, right? And and it provides you with the security. I mean, obviously, if you have a huge mortgage, that's a bit different, but at least you're working toward achieving some security. But we have a degree of security, but it's not an investment. So if you've got some money to invest, you go and invest it in pork belly futures or whatever you're interested in. Not the house isn't going to do that for you. So that's a difference between our situation and the typical situation in the city.